Hi everybody, my name is Anne. Thanks for joining me on Art on the Creek. We're in my home studio in Parker, Colorado, and as usual, I am very happy that you're here with me today. You know, today we had perfect weather this morning. It was about 73 degrees, sunny, beautiful day, and I thought, oh, today's the perfect day to take you guys en plein air. So we went to a park, my husband and I, and it was the worst fail of my life. So that's exaggerating, but it wasn't good. It wasn't fun. Everything was frustrating. I forgot some supplies. So I decided what we would do is work from a photo that I took this morning while I was leaving the gym. We got some rain here recently, and that doesn't always happen here in Colorado. So we had a nice little puddle in a rock, and I like the way it looked. So let's go ahead and lay down some watercolor, put some colored pencil on top of it, and see what we can do. Are you ready? Let's get started. As I'm recording this, it is Memorial Day weekend 2023, and this is the rock that is part of the landscaping around our pool. Our pool's going to open this weekend. I'm so excited. I can't wait to go swimming again and lay out in the sun and read a book and just relax. But this little rock forms kind of a natural bird bath, and I really, really like the way it looked. So I thought what we could do is to go ahead and try and paint it today. Now I'm using my Sennelier paints, and I have my Le Benzin brush. I'll link to everything that we have that I'm using here in the description. And I've already drawn a real cursory sketch of the rock. In fact, I almost went from memory. I kind of did the outline of it, and then I put the reference photo away because I really wanted this to just be very, very loose. And a good way to loosen yourself up if you tend to fret about detail too much, one of the best ways to do it is to start playing in watercolor, I tell you, because it forces you to surrender your will. But I wanted to surrender my my drawing to my memory, and I just wanted to see where it would take me. After that plein air, I needed a big win, and I'm in no way claiming that this is the best thing I've ever painted, but I do like the way it turned out, and it made me feel so much better. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever gone anywhere, even if it's just down to your drawing pad, and sat down and thought, boy, I'm going to do this today. I'm ready to go. I'm going to draw this thing I've been wanting to draw for a long time. And you do it and you fail. And so you try again, and it's another fail, and again, and it's another fail. I don't know about you, but that really kind of wears on me as a person. I don't like those feelings. So what I did was when we got home, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go downstairs and see what I can come up with. And I scrolled through my phone a little bit, and I remembered this great photo. Now, right now, it's going to kind of look like a big donut, which maybe that's what I need. Maybe a donut wouldn't be bad. But I love the way that this rock is kind of layered and quirky and wonky, and that natural reservoir in the middle that collected the water. So I'm just kind of using some burnt sienna here, and I'm going to mix in a little bit of some red. I've got a cool red in here, and this is their alizarin crimson, I think. Yeah, let me just double check. Yes, I'm going to mix in some of the alizarin crimson, and that's a nice red to have in your palette, by the way, if you don't have it. I'm using burnt sienna right now and a little bit of alizarin crimson. The alizarin crimson is a color that if you paint anything that lives and breathes, it's a color that's very close to blood, and when you are painting any kind of complexion or skin tone, any complexion whatsoever, we all have blood, and that blood does show through. So that alizarin crimson is a very good red to use when you're mixing skin tones. So the other colors I'm using here are the ultramarine blue mixed with that burnt sienna to create a gray, and I'm really taking advantage of this paper. It is a cellulose paper. This is a travel sketchbook that I use. That I will often take advantage of these cauliflower blooms because I really like how the paper kind of takes over. So what I was feeling when I was painting this, I really kind of just needed to let go, let the watercolor do what it wanted to do, but I also needed a win for Anne. I needed to be able to say, hey, I painted that. So I wanted to use this particular sketchbook because I wanted to lose control of the water a little bit. And for me, for the way I paint, the best way to do that is with cellulose paper. So you'll note what I'm doing here is I'm creating the depths and curves and form in the rock face by adding layers of paint in certain areas, using some wet on wet, forcing some cauliflower blooms, things like that. So let's go to the phase where I'm doing the greenery, and then we can see how I did that with greenery as well. So here, this is just sped up at 4 times speed. I just wanted you to see how I'm using the wetness of the paper to my advantage and laying in some of those contour shadows and lines in the wet paper to just kind of let it mix and blend. While it's on the paper there, I was able to take advantage too of these natural granulating pigments, the burnt sienna and the ultramarine, let them just kind of play on the paper. And now for this green, I kind of have a mix of things going on here. In that middle well over there on the left, I think I had, let me look at that here. I had phthalo green light and just a little bit of Naples yellow. That was just left over from whatever I had when I was using outside today. So that's just kind of, I think I just added a little bit more to that. And then the next green that I go into for the second layer, that darker puddle up there, that is a mix of Sennelier's forest green with some of the burnt sienna. I really like taking a blue green like that, a real cool green, and mixing burnt sienna with it because you can take that coolness and just bring it down into a deep, mellow green that really looks a lot like forest greenery. So what I'm doing here is I'm really taking advantage of this brush and its bristles and or fibers, I guess I should say. I'm really letting those fibers do the work for me. I'm letting the shape of the brush work, and I'm letting the wet on wet work for me. I'm just really just placing pigment wherever it feels like it should be. I'm not really thinking. I'm just totally surrendering, letting go, and just letting this take form because I was so frustrated when I was outside, and I think it's because I was trying to control what was happening. There was, it was kind of, well, it was humid for here. It was 45% humidity. 73 degrees, sunny, but there was a 20-mile-an-hour wind. As soon as I sprayed my paints, they dried, and I was using a metal tin, so that didn't help. As soon as I got my paper wet, it dried. It was so frustrating, and I just couldn't make things work. So what we did instead was we went out to lunch, and we had a nice, relaxing lunch, and then we decided to come home. And now that storm is rolling in, and it might pass us by, actually. It was really dark there for a second, and now the sun is coming back out, and we didn't get any rain or anything at all. But at any rate, what I wanted to do was really surrender to what this watercolor wanted to do, because I was feeling, I think that's what happened to me when we were out today. I was trying to over control what was happening to the watercolor. And, you know, I don't like it when I get in that space, because I know that watercolor has a mind of its own. I know that it wants to do what it wants to do, and I'm usually very forgiving, and that's one of the things I really have come to love about watercolor. But today it was just so frustrating, and I think, to be honest with you, there are some other things in my life right now that are very frustrating, and I wonder if I was projecting some of that onto my sketchbook, because I've still kind of got some of those negative feelings dancing around in my head. And as much as I hate to share that on social media, I feel like we're all human, and this isn't really the space for it. But I think that a lot of us really do paint for that reason of mental health. And I went into that plein air session today thinking, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be right, and everything is going to be great, and this is going to be the best tutorial I've ever made. I didn't give myself room for error. I didn't allow for the paints to do what they wanted to do. I didn't factor in for the weather. It was a beautiful day out. We had a great time. It was a lot of people were there. It was nice. It was just such a nice day. And I think that even made it more frustrating for me, because my plan still wasn't working. And my plan was to control the paint. And I don't know if I'm explaining this well enough, but if you've watercolored for any length of time, I think you will understand that once you have your watercolor down on the paper, when it's still damp, it's still moving, it's still alive. It doesn't stop moving and become part of the painting until it's completely dry. And I think I was really trying to force the situation this afternoon when I was outside because I was struggling with those elements so much. Things wouldn't stay wet. They dried off way too soon. It was way too bright. I didn't have shade. I forgot some of my supplies. So I was completely frustrated from the get-go. So I guess my advice to you would be, if you find yourself in that situation, maybe just walk around and take some pictures. Because I did take some really good pictures of clouds. So what I have on my camera are some photos that I can share with you later of some beautiful thunderheads that were coming over the foothills. And it's just some really interesting subject matter. And I really wanted to nail that today, and I wasn't prepared. I have no one but myself to blame, and I wanted to share this experience with you all so that you can learn from it. And because I believe that everything has a lesson to it. No matter what we do in our day, no matter what upsets us, we can learn from that and we can grow from that and become better human beings. And that's kind of the ultimate quest in life, right? To be a better person than you were yesterday. Well, I think through art is one of the best tools that we can use to achieve that. And you know, we're always searching. It's always that struggle. It's never about the destination. It is about the journey. And today, the journey reminded me that I really need to focus on one step at a time. This isn't about conquering. It's just about experiencing. So this little scene here of the water sitting so peacefully and tranquilly in this little divot in the rock, really, I felt myself just relaxing when I looked at the photo. And I think it's just what I needed. I needed something calm and serene, and I thought, you know what, this is what I should paint. And sometimes your photos will do that. Sometimes you'll find a photo and you think, oh, that's the best thing, I want to paint that. But then you run across another photo in your phone or wherever, and you realize, oh, that's really nice. And maybe it's not that great of a picture, it's just a moment. And you'll hear me say that a lot on this channel, that you want to capture those moments. Well, this little reservoir, this little pool in this rock was one of those moments for me today. And I wanted to capture it. I wanted to share it with you because it brought me peace. It brought me calm. And that's what art should do, is it should enlist a response. Well, now I've decided, okay, I've got the base layer down. Let's go ahead and get the Prismacolors out. And here's what I'm using. I have a yellow ochre, burnt sienna, lime green, dark green, sky blue light, yellow chartreuse, indanthrone blue, and a warm gray 90%. And those are the colors I thought would be great to start highlighting. So I'm just going to get these sharpened here, and then we can get to work. You know, watercolor is a transparent medium, and because of that, we always work light to dark. That tends to be the way I work in colored pencil too. So we're going to start off with the lightest one, which is the yellow chartreuse. This is a really good color for greenery, and I'm using it in the lightest portions of the green to just kind of show where that green is has the light shining on it or through it. And I also really like using this lime green for the same reason. It's an excellent mid-tone for greenery, and that is exactly what I wanted to use it for here. So I'm just going to kind of filling in. What I'm doing is I'm doing a little bit of intuitive coloring, I guess you could call it. I am filling in these colors in a contour way that goes with however the paint is already down. I was very free with my brush. I let things fall where they may, and now I'm capitalizing on that with a colored pencil. So now I'm going in with a dark green and just kind of adding some shadows here. And I think the end result, maybe you can see this, I think it'll show up even more dramatically on the sped up version here, is that I think what you'll see is how those contours emerge when you're able to accentuate them with colored pencil. And I'm sorry if my head keeps getting in the way. But yeah, I really like doing this. I really like putting down an underlayer of watercolor and going over it with any other kind of medium, whether it's ink or pencil or colored pencil in this case, or pastel. I just really like the dimension and texture that you can get when you do things like that on your journal page, your watercolor page or your journal page, because especially when you're using colored pencil on this particular sketchbook, a lot of texture comes through, and I really like the result. So now what I'm doing is I've got that indanthrone blue and I'm laying down a first layer of shadow over here on the left side of the rock. Now I'm moving over to that 90% gray, and what you'll notice is that will intensify that shadow. I really like using a gray rather than a black when I'm using colored pencil in a case like this because it just gives it a softer appearance. Now I'm putting a harder line around the bottom of the rock because that's where the shadow will be its most intense. And let me just give this a little sharpen here. And we'll go back, and what I'm doing with this is imagining different levels and textures in the rocks, and I'm using this 90% gray to fill in those shadows wherever I think a little bit of dimension is needed to accentuate the form that I've established with the watercolor. So once again, what I'm doing is I'm using the way the watercolor was laid down as a map to provide me a sense of form and texture on this rock. This isn't the rock exactly that I took a picture of, but you can definitely see that it is a layered rock with a lot of texture and a lot of divots, a lot of interesting form to it. And that's exactly what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to achieve my version of what I saw this morning. And this type of art, this type of being very loose and very free and not trying to replicate exactly what I see, using a picture as an inspiration almost more than a reference, that's the way I really like to create. And I would encourage you to at least try it if you don't already create that way, because I think what it does is it helps us to relax more. It helps us to set our minds at ease. And it really can help you grow as an artist if it's a technique you don't usually use. I have been spending my evenings with a different set of colored pencils, upstairs in front of the TV when we watch television at night. I am practicing portraiture. I decided not to go for actual, portraits of people. What I decided to go for was more of a Marvel comic style. I had so much fun with one of my videos where I tried to draw the Fantastic Four. I'll put a little card up here in the corner so that you can go watch that video if you want to. But what I really decided to do was focus on that for a while, because I thought, you know what, this is one of the reasons I got into art in the first place, was because I love comic books. I love the different extreme perspectives. I love the dynamic lines, and I love all of the different shadings and texture that can just give exaggerated features so much appeal and fluidity and action just in one single drawing. So that's what I do when I'm trying to grow as an artist, is I work on those. And I have that upstairs in the evening. But this, for me today, this is my comfort zone. This kind of loose drawing, this kind of make it up as I go along style, that is my comfort zone. That's what I like to do, and that's what I like to teach. After I've practiced those portraits enough and those character drawings, maybe we'll do one of those here on the channel one day. But yeah, that Fantastic Four video is just, it's good for a laugh or two. I really did like the way that The Thing came out. I like that one, and I like the way that my Human Torch came out in that video. So those are the two, and they're just kind of, they should just show it in the end. If you do go watch that video, then you can see another version, well, a version of me trying to better my skills as an artist by learning something new. So if you're an artist that has trouble loosening up, a video like this, like mine, might really help you. I have found that watching different artists' styles that vary from my own have really helped me to grow as an artist over the years. That's another thing I would really encourage you to do now that the summer is coming and you might be looking for a nice cool escape, a nice respite from your hot day. Go to an art museum, bring your sketchbook along, sit in front of one of the famous paintings or your favorite painting or a new piece of modern art, and just try and draw it. Really focus on form, light, shadow, and structure, and maybe take some notes on the facing page of your journal to let you know how that piece made you feel and what you were trying to achieve. Art is such an immersive experience that when you're creating, I think it's very important to be very hyper aware of all of these things, because this is kind of a cautionary tale today. I let all that go out the window when I was trying to do the plein air today, and it failed. It just failed miserably. That was burnt sienna, by the way. I'm so sorry. I'm supposed to be telling you the colored pencils. And this one is yellow ochre. I like going in with yellow ochre at the end because even with watercolor, even though it's a transparent medium, watercolor, if you lay yellow ochre on the top, it can really give a nice warm glow for things. So we always do go light to dark in watercolor, but don't discount it. It doesn't mean that you can't go light over dark. It just means that you do run the risk of muddying things up. But yellow ochre for me works on a lot of rocks. So that's what I did today. Now that's the indanthrone blue going into the water, and I'm going to finish it up here with this sky blue light. I really love the way that this particular one came out. I like all the texture, I like the form, I like the bold strokes. I like its graphic nature. And I've noticed that as I practice those characters in my playtime, my fun art upstairs in the evenings, I'm starting to take on a different style in my art. And that's something that you may notice too, that no matter what it is you're working on, your style might change. And when you discover who you are as an artist, that's a gift you want to treasure. So even though today my plein air session was kind of a bust, I really like the way this one came out, and I think that there's some valuable lessons that I've shared with you here today, and I sure hope you enjoyed hearing them, my little story of my self-struggle. My hope is that some of this resonates with you, and you're able to take some of my true confessions here to heart, and maybe either realize, that you're not alone whenever you experience something that doesn't go quite the way you wanted it in your art, or you're just human. And we're all just trying to be a better person. Hopefully, you guys are having a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye now.